Hands where I can see them. The command ripped through the small corner store like a gunshot. Shoppers froze mid-step. A woman's bag of chips slipped from her hands. The cashier ducked low behind the counter. Outside, flashing red and blue lights painted the glass, bouncing across shelves of soda bottles and candy bars. Sergeant Adrian Vance had only come in for a bottle of water. Still in his crisp Army Reserve uniform, boots polished, ribbons glinting faintly across his chest, he just wrapped a long day of drills at Fort Liberty and wanted something cold for the drive home. But in an instant, everything changed. Two white officers stormed in as if they'd already written the ending. One was tall and sharp-jawed, Officer Simon Thorne. The other was shorter, heavy-set, Officer Leon Blake. Their hands hovered over their weapons, eyes locked on Adrian as though he were guilty before a word was spoken. "Outside, now!" Thorne barked. Startled shoppers scrambled out of their way. A man clutching lottery slips stumbled aside. Another clutched his phone, recording from behind a shelf. Adrian raised his hands, confusion tightening his brow. "What's going on?" "You're under suspicion of impersonating military personnel," Thorne shot back, voice clipped like he was reciting a line rehearsed 100 times. Adrian blinked, stunned. "Excuse me, I am in the Army." He didn't get another word out. Blake seized his arm, wrenching it sharply behind his back. Cold steel snapped around his wrists. The bottle of water slipped from Adrian's grasp, clattering across the floor. It spun in a slow circle, the sound ringing louder than it should have, punctuation on an injustice already unfolding. "You're making a mistake," Adrian said, steady but firm. "Yeah, they all say that," Thorne sneered. They dragged him out onto the blistering sidewalk, forcing him to kneel. Heat radiated through the concrete, burning against his uniform. Traffic slowed, drivers craned their necks, phones lifted, filming. The humiliation was deliberate, meant to brand him before the world. Adrian didn't resist. He stayed upright, head high, eyes forward. The uniform across his chest stood for sacrifice, service, honor. And these officers, blind in their bias, were about to learn exactly what that meant. Have you ever seen someone serve with honor only to be branded a criminal in an instant? Not because of their actions, but because of how they looked. Before we dive further into this story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing it. And if you believe no one should ever be condemned based on assumptions, hit that like button and subscribe to Story Arc. Because prejudice can happen anywhere, to anyone, and we all need to stand against it in everyday life. "I'd like to make one phone call," Adrian said quietly. Blake smirked, shaking his head. "To who? Your lawyer?" Adrian's voice stayed calm, steady. "No. My commanding officer." The two exchanged a look, almost amused, before Thorne shrugged. "Go ahead." Still cuffed, Adrian shifted carefully and pulled his phone from his pocket. With one thumb, he pressed a single contact. The line rang twice. "Colonel Julian Grant," came the deep voice. "Sir, this is Sergeant Vance," Adrian said firmly. "I've been wrongfully detained. They're accusing me of impersonating military." A pause. Then Grant's answer rolled out like thunder contained. "Stay where you are. I'm on my way." Adrian ended the call, looking straight at the officers. "Help is coming." They laughed under their breath, dismissive. But that laughter wouldn't last. Exactly 10 minutes later, 3 black SUVs glided into the gas station lot. No sirens, no flashing lights. They didn't need them. Doors opened, and men in dark suits stepped out. Badges caught the sun, glinting with quiet authority. The air shifted. Conversations hushed. Phones steadied. Even the buzzing neon of the gas station sign seemed to fade, as if the world itself paused to see what would happen next. Then the back door of the lead SUV swung open. Colonel Julian Grant stepped out. Tall, silver hair glinting in the light, his uniform weighed heavy with medals and ribbons, more than most had ever seen outside a parade ground. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. Every step was a statement. He stopped in front of the 2 officers, his voice calm but cutting like a blade. "Which one of you is Thorne?" Simon Thorne stiffened, then slowly raised his hand. Grant didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I'm Colonel Julian Grant. The man you handcuffed is Sergeant Adrian Vance. He has served this country for 11 years. You cuffed a decorated soldier in full uniform on a public sidewalk." Blake's throat bobbed as he swallowed. "We thought he was fake." Grant's voice cracked sharp. "Did you ask for identification?" "No, sir." Did you check his badge, his base permit, or even ask his name? Silence. Grant stepped closer, his presence suffocating. You racially profiled one of our own, and now both of you are under federal review for misconduct. A military lawyer moved forward, official papers in hand. Grant's voice didn't waver. You are hereby placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. Badges, weapons, radios, hand them over. The words landed like a verdict. Their authority evaporated in an instant. The weight of the badges they once carried now stripped away in front of everyone watching. Simon's jaw dropped. Wait, this is a mistake. Grant's eyes narrowed. The only mistake was believing you could treat a soldier like a criminal because of the color of his skin. He turned to Adrian, still kneeling. Get up, Sergeant. Grant reached out, steady and deliberate, lifting Adrian to his feet. This should never have happened, and it will never happen again. Applause erupted. A woman clapped hard, tears in her eyes. Someone shouted, "That's justice!" Thorne and Blake were escorted away by internal affairs. Not cuffed, but their heads hung low, futures collapsing with every step. Adrian stood tall. Dust streaked his uniform, but his dignity was untouchable. By the next morning, the video was everywhere. Clips of Adrian being forced down, the brutal click of handcuffs, and then the silent moment before Grant stepped out of the SUV. All of it replayed on endless loops. TikTok, Facebook, evening news anchors. The hashtag Salute Sergeant Vance trended worldwide. Reporters swarmed the gas station. Talk shows dissected every angle. Even late-night comedians threw jabs at the arrogance of the two officers. The story had gone far beyond one street corner. The mayor called a press conference on the steps of City Hall. Cameras clicked as she stepped up to the podium. "I want to personally apologize to Sergeant Vance," she declared, voice echoing off marble columns. What happened to him was unacceptable. Officers Thorne and Blake have been terminated, not suspended, not transferred, fired. The crowd erupted, cheers, applause, fists pumping in the air. It wasn't just justice, it was accountability, and people wanted more of it. At home, Adrian sat on his couch, a bowl of cereal in his lap. He didn't smile until the mayor added, "Sergeant Vance is an example of grace, honor, and patience. He deserves our respect, not suspicion." 2 weeks later, Adrian stood at the front of a police academy auditorium. Rows of fresh recruits stared back, uniforms crisp, nerves evident. He hadn't brought notes. He didn't need them. "Before you put on a badge," Adrian began, his voice steady, filling the hall, "remember this: respect isn't optional. It isn't given based on skin, uniform, or title. It's the baseline of humanity. And if you forget that, the badge you wear becomes nothing more than a symbol of abuse." Silence. Heavy, thoughtful. Then slowly, applause began, quiet at first, then rising until the entire room was on its feet. Later that night, Adrian sat on his porch with a glass of sweet tea. The sun dipped behind the trees, painting the sky in fading gold. He hadn't wanted revenge. What he'd gained was far greater: respect, justice, and a story that had been heard loud and clear. Respect isn't a favor, he thought. It's a right, earned, not questioned. Sergeant Adrian Vance hadn't just cleared his name. He had shown the world what true honor looked like, and sometimes the strongest answer isn't rage, but calm, quiet dignity. Have you ever seen dignity silence discrimination louder than anger ever could? And if you believe no one should ever be condemned based on assumptions, hit that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because prejudice can happen anywhere, to anyone, and we all need to stand against it in everyday life.